Doesn't have to be a big tornado to cause a lot of damage in a small area. It'll be moving out kind of the southwest of Conway, near the airport there, maybe just south of that, and across the Arkansas River. We're looking from the National Weather Service in Little Rock. They have issued that tornado warning, and yeah, they haven't commented really on it as of yet. So here's the last few frames of this. I'm going to go back to the velocity mode, and on velocity, you'll see that a little bit earlier, I think it looked stronger. And there it is right there. Around the Perryville area, you can see this little turn. The wind's kind of coming around a circulation center right there. That was just a little bit ago. Let's go on over the last few frames. You can still see some weakness in there, trying to pull something around a rotation center. It doesn't look quite like it did. But if you're in this area, let's just go ahead and get into a safe spot. It's better safe than sorry with these storms like this. And that last one really doesn't look like a whole lot right now, but it is a tornado warned area. We're going to continue to watch for you folks as this exits Perry County and moves into Faulkner County and on up. It's moving in kind of an east-northeast direction. I'll get the speed of movement on that, but I think it's going to be around 45 miles per hour, given what we've seen. Tornado warning. Yeah, it was just only radar indicated, so nobody saw this. Of course, dark at night and out in a largely rural area, but some small communities there moving east at around 50 miles per hour. And we continue to watch that storm. He'll put it back into reflectivity mode, and that's just rain. That's some heavy rainfall and boat out structures like that. They're to the southwest of Perryville right now, and another one approaching Jessieville. Those are the kind of things that we're watching, but we're watching for rotation within those. And as I look at that line down into Garland County, strong storm, absolutely. Hail, certainly a possibility. I don't see any obvious signs of rotation along with that. That's good news, although it is a very strong storm. And so we're looking at the one up into Perry County, now moving into Faulkner County. And so this is going to be jumping over the Arkansas River very soon. You folks in Conway, especially out on the west side of town, southwest side of town, you're going to see this line moving in. It is tornado warned. You're hearing the sirens go off, and I know that's kind of a scary thing, but just leave it right here. We're going to analyze this. You're not going to be surprised by this. We have plenty of lead time on it, and we're going to hope that this is not, as it sort of appears right now, rotating even like it was. And it wasn't rotating all that much, but it had the potential. And right now, I'm not seeing that. But I do see some little pockets of wind. Those brighter colors right there, Bigelow and on up, there could be some very strong gusts of wind approaching maybe that 55, 60 mile per hour criteria, for which would be severe weather criteria. Now we have issued another, this National Weather Service, another severe thunderstorm warning for this storm, which is now out to the east of Morrilton and will be moving up into Greenbrier. So Conway County into the northern part of Faulkner County. That is a severe thunderstorm warning, not a tornado warning. So all of these, at least briefly, have pulsed up a little bit as they're moving into this area. I think we're going to have to watch these for another hour or so, perhaps. And then our focus will shift into southwest Arkansas. Let's go back, if we can, to our Max 2, the number 2 computer, and I'll give you just a little more of an overview of what's happening there. You can see the tail end of that line is down just to the south of Hot Springs, but the north end of it is certainly stronger, including that tornado warning that is now still in effect for Bigelow and moving over into Faulkner County very soon. I'll put a track on this, and we'll put a little squall line track on it, moving off to the east at about 50 miles per hour. And just some very small communities, Lolly, Hamlet, Valonia would be down the road with this storm. I didn't draw it quite big enough there to get Conway in it, but it's only going to be a matter of minutes, about 10 minutes or so. It'll be into the Conway area. And so that's what we have right now with that storm. I'll continue to monitor what the National Weather Service is saying about this, but if they're looking at kind of the insides of this storm, I know they are, they just haven't commented really on it, and they're just saying that there's a potential now potential for tornado within the storm. And this one on up to the north is going to be another one that we're looking at. Let's go back to our storm scan computer if we can. And this gives kind of a better indication of the rotation inside. Our storm scan computer will show the tornado warned storm and then the one up to the north of it. And if we can go to that, those are the three warnings right now. The one is coming into Hot Springs right now in the Mountain Panda area. Yeah.
I was just going to say, I think the Weather Service may have issued this severe thunderstorm warning as a replacement for the tornado warning. Tornado warning remains in effect, but they may opt to let this expire because it looks like a whole lot of wind that's headed into Faulkner County right now.
Yeah, I agree on that. It doesn't look like there's an obvious rotation there. So, yeah, meteorologist James Bryant joining me now. That whole bowed out area there, I think that is the greater concern. All the way from west of Menifee out to the west of Conway. James, there did look like a little rotation there briefly, but I don't think it looked like it at the last couple of checks that I saw.
No, it had a nice little scan going in Perry County, but since it is kind of straightened out to where it just looks like it is straight line winds. I'm actually in Conway right now, and I can pull up a live feed of what I'm looking at to my west. As you can imagine, just a lot of lightning and a lot of wind. And I expect the wind to pick up here in Conway pretty shortly. But as of right now, I don't expect them to continue this tornado warning past 11, which is when this will expire for Conway and the north side of Mayflower, Lake Conway, Lawley, all those communities.
Yeah, they have shrunk it down some. This area has been shrunk down some, kind of taking Bigelow out of it right now. Moving over into Faulkner County, Conway, the Lake Conway communities there to the north of Mayflower along I-40. And it just looks like a line right now, no little indentations within it. And that's good news, but the bad news is, as James said, there is wind with this, and it is going to be strong as it moves through. And I think this line and the one coming overnight that will be a little farther down to the south, Little Rock and southward, I think wind energy is going to be quite strong with this, only because, James, there's just so much energy up above. And if any of that can translate down to the ground, then you get really strong storms. In the wintertime, we know that our upper level winds can be quite a bit stronger.
Yeah, and really going up into northern Faulkner County, I'm on max 1. There is looks like damaging straight line winds headed for Beaver Fork Lake, Wooster, Greenbrier, Holland, over to Quitman, and then that's eventually going to track up towards Rosebud. So that's a lot of wind. You know, these areas have dew points in the mid 50s, and so it's not impossible to get a tornado, but I would say it would be pretty rare.
That's right. Yeah.
So that is, I mean, the dew points increase a couple of degrees after this line of storms. The line of storms coming out of Hot Springs Village also just went severe warned all the way into West Little Rock.
Yeah.
So the main threat with this line now I think is going to be high winds. And when this tornado warning expires, we can kind of walk everybody through the next round, which is kind of very similar.
Yeah, it's the same thing, but just a little bit farther south. And so the whole area now is a severe thunderstorm warned area. That does not mean that there'll be damaging winds with all of this, but approaching Hot Springs Village on the Garland County side, moving into the Saline County side, you're getting a lot of wind right now, a lot of lightning in the air. And if you look out west from Little Rock, you can see that lightning as well. But yeah, there's plenty of wind all along that area. And it looks like yeah, as you said, up around Wooster and headed toward Greenbrier, that's probably an area that will get strong winds. Conway, certainly some strong winds coming toward that way too. I do want to just touch on what we are expecting perhaps a little bit later on tonight and why there is a tornado watch in effect. And I think maybe we can go to max 2? If we can. There it is. So we're looking at around midnight tonight, this area kind of moving on up to the north. And then we'll watch this area out of Oklahoma into western Arkansas at 2 a.m., moving into the Little Rock area around 4 a.m., 3:30 to 4 a.m. And within that, I think we're going to see this similar thing with wind and the possibility of isolated tornadoes. there's going to be some instability there that could be a little more surface-based, meaning there's a little more humidity, there's a little more heat at the surface than there happens to be right now. So I don't think it's likely that we'll see a tornado out of this, but I think it is at least possible, and that's why we're going to be here all night long. The whole team will be switching off later on tonight, but we're going to be here. And then by the time 5 o'clock rolls on, and then 6, 7 o'clock, that strongest line goes over into eastern Arkansas. So that's what we're looking at right now. If we can go back to Storm Scan, and I think it shows very well the areas that we're looking at, all the way from just having gone through Jesseville, east of Mountain Pine. There is some hail signature with that, but that is a little wind segment right there. And then a little boat out segment east of Perryville. And then that stuff coming into Conway. Looks like to me maybe north of Conway, James, if you're still there, that looks like the strongest one. And I'm kind of concerned about the wind potential there west-southwest of Greenbrier, right here.
Yeah, Barry, I'm looking at radar, and I just stepped outside. I'm looking off towards my west, and there's just a whole lot of wind. I'm looking to see if I can see any power flashes or anything along the leading edge of the line. The wind has picked up pretty substantially, but the air still has a chill to it, which makes me believe that the tornado threat maybe just isn't there quite yet.
Yeah.
Not impossible, though, and it is about to get windy and stormy, and that's threat number one. And we've got tornado sirens just now going off in Conway, I think for the first time. But
okay. Yeah,
yeah,
and now
you might be able to hear 'em.
the tornado warning has been canceled, it appears. Or it just expired. No, it will expire. Yeah, I can hear the warnings sirens there.
Yeah, if you're waking up in the city of Conway, this is a high wind threat. So
yes, not
get away from windows.
Tornado threat not there. I am watching this storm though as it comes into Greenbrier. It looks a little more bowed out, and there is a signature for some rotation there. A little more concerning. I still don't think the tornado threat is high though with it. And if you look at just the line, the velocity, you don't see any little kinks in the line. The wind's going away from the radar side and around a circulation center. But that is bowed out right there for sure. So along from Greenbrier down to Spring Hill, all that way, this is going to be a big wind producer. And it wouldn't shock me to see some possible wind damage along that line, right along the Highway 65 corridor, all the way down into the Conway area. But I'm a little more concerned about that. Here's what it looks like on just the reflectivity scan. So it's going to be pouring rainfall, and there is no tornado warning currently in effect. This is a severe thunderstorm warning, but strong winds can certainly happen with that as well. And then you head down all the way from Conway on down to Mayflower. That is now a severe thunderstorm warning. And then Little Rock actually in a severe thunderstorm warning for a storm that's just barely coming into the far western part of Pulaski County. These storms are moving at about 50 miles per hour. And Hot Springs, you're seeing these storms kind of come into the northern part of town, but the strongest of it is up to the north there. And I think a lot of this activity is lifting off to the north-northeast, James. I don't know if James is still there or not.
Yeah, I'm still with you.
Yeah.
I'm standing out here watching what's rolling in here. I'm telling you, Barry, I think it must be 53 or 54 degrees. So
yeah,
definitely feels like a straight line wind producer, and all of this is, it is racing off to the east. And I see the wind potential going up into Faulkner County. We can check the power outage numbers here shortly, because I think they're going to go up, unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is something that we probably need to start checking. But yeah, it's a wind threat in Conway. You're getting it right now into the neighborhoods there on the northwest side of town, on up to the west of Highway 65, coming into Pickles Gap, and on up to around Greenbrier. But that's going to be a big area of wind, and it is severe thunderstorm warned. Right now, 2,520 without power in Little Rock, says poweroutage.us. The majority of those in Clark County with 377, and I don't know, it doesn't show exactly where those are, but it looks like, yeah, most are in First Electric Cooperative About 1,100 are without power there. All right, here's our areas of concern right now from Greenbrier and then east of Perryville. Looks maybe not quite as strong, but that is severe warned as well. And out into the far western part of Saline County and the western part, just the tip of Pulaski County as well. All the way down to the north of Hot Springs. Those storms that are coming into Hot Springs, most on the north side of town. And even though those are severe warned, those are all severe thunderstorm warnings as these are all moving off in. So it's a high wind threat. We're going to stick with this for a little while. Right now we're at the 11 o'clock hour. Just know that if there's a tornado warning, we're going to be on the air. But with these high winds coming into very populated areas, we're going to stick around for a little while also as it comes into Greenbrier. Greenbrier, I'd say go ahead and just get into the interior of your house, coming into town, already into Greenbrier really right now. And as James said, there is a lot of wind along with these.
Yeah, Barry, I'm back inside looking at radar. I just want to make everybody feel a little bit better. After stepping outside and kind of feeling what felt like cold outflow, I feel like the tornado risk is just on the lower side, but it is windy and rainy. And if you have a bedroom up against a westward facing wall where you have a tree or something like that, it might be a good idea to get away from that, just in case a few trees are knocked down and the high winds moving across any part of Faulkner, Perry, Pulaski County. But I think for at least the moment, the tornado threat is on the lower side.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see anything on there that looks like rotation. And only for a few scans did that one storm, which was out in the vicinity of Houston and Bigelow. It looked like it might have had a little bit of rotation along with it. If we can go back to storm scan here, again, by tomorrow morning at 7 to 7:30, that's going to be well off to the east. Even this second round that's coming, this is kind of the first round. And all the modeling showed this kind of lifting off to the north so that even the tail end of this would be going a little bit north of the Little Rock area, maybe just brushing by Pulaski County. That's the first kind of round that we'll see. And then there'll be more developing later on around 2 o'clock in the morning. And then that line will come up through from Little Rock and generally southward. But you can see the boat out features there coming into the northwestern part of Saline County. Perry County now moving off into Conway. That is no longer a tornado warned storm. No rotation that is apparent on our radar. And right along the 65 corridor right there, James said there's a big outflow of cold air out of these, and a lot of times you don't feel that if you have a tornado producing a thunderstorm. So none of the signs point to that. We'll go to Greenbrier again. I'll just tell you though, it's a bowed out area there, and I'll bet you Greenbrier has had some pretty significant wind as it moves off to the east of Highway 65, which is right there. So if you're out in advance of that, let me just tell you, this is going to be a pretty good sized wind producer. James, did you have high wind gusts, or was it just kind of a 35 mile an hour gust when you went through?
Yeah, it wasn't extremely strong.
Yeah.
I think it barely shook the trees here, and we don't have a whole lot of trees in my neighborhood, so that's from what I could see. Though I do think there will be pockets of high winds along this line. One part about it being cold is it may be difficult for storms to get higher winds down to the ground, at least for the moment. We certainly hope that is the case. If you're just happening to turn on Channel 7, you may notice, or if you're in the Conway area or Faulkner County, we still have tornado sirens going off in the city of Conway. There is no immediate tornado threat now to the city. The tornado warning has expired. This is pretty much all a high wind threat along this line, and I think that is going to be the main threat tonight. And I hope we don't see power outages. We're about to go into a really cold period here in the next few days. We focused a lot on the area in Faulkner County, but down into Saline and Pulaski County, there's another area of high winds going to be moving east, and that's going to affect areas north of Benton and Bryant, eventually going to get over to Chenal Mountain, West Little Rock, Ferndale, Roland, and then eventually Maumelle and Little Rock.
Yeah, that is an area that really is, certainly there's torrential rain along there. I don't see any signs of obvious rotation. There is some hail along with it, but you're right. This is a broad warning for Saline back into Pulaski County, back into the western part of the city of Little Rock and all the way up to Mayflower. And then that smaller one, the one that was in effect for the southern part of that line, that has gone away. It was kind of replaced by a little bit larger one. But we're just watching this for some pockets of wind. I think James said it very well. Pockets of high wind within an area where just kind of gusty winds. Not everyone will see damaging winds. In fact, I think only a few will. We are looking at some power outages, though. I've seen more than 5,000 right now, and I'm going to back this out, and I'm just going to go over what I'm seeing. We're talking about Conway County, which is right here. Conway is in Faulkner County, but Conway County now has 793 power outages. So 793 in Conway out of 12,000 customers. Cleburne County, about 1,000 without power out of 20,000 in Cleburne County, rather. And then on down, lesser amounts in Perry County, only 172 without power there. So there are sporadic power outages in the state. Clark County has 383. It hasn't been much in the way of wind that's gone through there. That could have been a lightning strike, perhaps, as well. And we don't know that wind was the cause of the one up in Conway County either. So there's a lot of lightning with these as well. But this is just one solid line. And the worst of it, the area that's kind of bowed out there, those are all severe thunderstorm warnings. No tornado warnings in effect right now as they move on this way. Hopefully they will start to lose some of their identity, and then we're looking at another area that will develop on down here at around the 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning hour, developing there and then moving out into the state. This will have some stabilizing effect on whatever it touches, including around the southern part of Little Rock all the way up into North Arkansas. So once you get that pounding rainfall, I'm not saying you couldn't have some severe weather later on as far north as, say, Little Rock, but it really will have a stabilizing and cooling effect on the atmosphere. We're primarily concerned with the south half of the state later on tonight. But there'll be another round coming through. I just think the higher severe threat will be on down to the south a little bit. There is one report here. I'm looking around Perryville, and an estimate of a 60-mile-per-hour wind gust from a trained spotter. So right there in Perryville, and that was at 10:32 local time there. So we have had some reports of wind, and that was the area that we first started to see that little, what looked like maybe a little rotation. And what we're seeing was, well, at least there was some wind along with that, and other pockets of wind there. I think this stuff up around Greenbrier, I don't know that it looks quite as bad as it was, but that's still a big wind producer as it moves on through. The storms to the south of there don't look as bad. That area that's kind of receding back to the southwest from Conway, I don't think those storms look as strong as they were. So I'm primarily concerned about this segment in Faulkner County and this segment which runs down into Saline County. It's really north of Hot Springs up to Perrin and on into Perry County and kind of the Highway 10 corridor, Highway 9 out there at Williams Junction, moving off to the east. So if you're in this area, just be aware that there's not a tornado warning. We are monitoring it. There could be pockets of damaging winds along with it, and there could be even some hail. I see a little hail signature there down to the southwest of Perryville. That looks like, to me, it's maybe on the north side of Hot Springs Village, over on the Saline County side of the village there. This is all racing off to the kind of the east-northeast. So a little bit later on, the receding edge of this could make it to the Little Rock area, maybe within an hour or so. Hopefully it won't be as strong by the time it does. Lots of lightning and thunder out there. There are some power outages as well, still holding at 5,166, but they're just kind of scattered out there. This has been reconfigured, this severe thunderstorm warning, from the line of storms then onto the east, and there you can see the latest scan. That just looks like a big wind producer out to the west, far western Pulaski County and the western parts of Saline County, all moving this way. 50-mile-per-hour winds. It won't take it long to make it all the way to Mayflower. and then crossing over I-40, that leading edge right there. Conway, you've had some strong winds. You're going to have a few more strong winds on the south side of town, and then on up into Faulkner County. So that's really what we're looking at, and I don't want to zoom in too tight here because we don't want to ignore everything else going on, but that is certainly the main show with the stronger storms there. And as we take a look at the state as a whole, that's certainly the strongest in the state. Now, up around Fayetteville, there are some strong storms there. Those are quickly rotating off to the northeast. Later on tonight, that's the area that we'll see some snowfall. And that's going to be moving in late tonight into tomorrow morning hours. And there could be a little bit of snow. It could be a quarter of an inch, or it's not going to last very long. It's going to be getting colder there, though, very quickly. And then after we get this line, and then what develops later and coming through, then our severe threat will be over and temperatures will just start to fall. James, you still with us there in Conway?
Yeah. It looks like we've got another report from Perry County. This is at Harris Break at Perry, Arkansas, in Perry County. Multiple trees were blown down.
Okay.
So not sure if that's going to be from a weak tornado or straight line winds. It could have been both in that general area. But and it looks like in Greenbrier, they have power lines down on East Main and Henderson Street. So those are the latest reports from the line segments that just went through Perry and Faulkner counties. On Max 1, I've got the storm track up for the line segment that's about to move through Saline and Pulaski County. It's going to be reaching Chenal Mountain here in about 10 minutes. It's moving at 60 miles per hour. So it's going to cross the entirety of Pulaski and Lonoke counties here within the next hour. It'll be downtown Little Rock at 11:35, reaching Cabot about 10 minutes later, and then well into Lonoke County, or almost through Lonoke County, reaching Carlisle by about 12:07. So about 12:10, this will be on the other side of Lonoke County. So this is another storm that we're concerned with really high winds. As I just look at the velocity features, I don't see anything that screams rotation. Looking up into Faulkner County, there is a lot of high wind moving through that county. And Barry, you've been talking about it, but it is round one. I think there was one storm that might present some rotation. It's just the short term. We probably need to watch what is on the west side of Lake DeGray. It is by itself. It may be a little bit warmer down there, and that may move into Hot Spring. Not showing any imminent signs of rotating. That's something.
Yeah, I think so. There is probably a little more instability, a little more heat down in that part of the state. But for now, that's kind of that trailing edge. But it is out by itself, and I don't think the National Weather Service. Let's see if we got any other reports. Pea-sized hail in Damascus. That was 4 minutes ago. So not. Yeah, and then the fire department saying the power line down East Main and Henderson Street in Greenbrier. Those are the reports that we're getting. And multiple trees down at Toadsuck in Perry County, just on the Perry-Faulkner County side. So as we were talking about, as those storms went through, it came out of Perry County. Certainly they had some wind with them, and that's why we continue to watch this, because there are areas of wind, I think, all the way from east of Greenbrier. And then certainly this area right here has a couple of little bowed out features, and this is Pulaski County. So right there is far western Pulaski County, coming into that area around Lake Maumelle. Some of the ridge tops there could be experiencing very high winds. Whether they're capable of producing tree damage, pushing trees down, we don't know that for sure, but it has happened up in the Greenbrier areas, power lines down there, and back into Perryville a little bit earlier, multiple trees down. So we're going to assume that these have at least an isolated potential for doing that as it moves toward the Little Rock area. 50 miles per hour, it's going to take a little while to get here, but West Little Rock out into the Ferndale area, it's not going to be long before it makes it there. And this is that round one that we're talking about. As we back out, the storm northwest of Arkadelphia, west of Lake DeGray. Yeah, still strong. Not warned right now. I'm sure the National Weather Service is watching it, but we're looking at, it's rather strong storm. It's got some hail potential with it, and it certainly has the potential to kind of be out by itself and ingest a lot of that more unstable air. It doesn't have to compete with other a line of storms there, just kind of at the southern end of this line. National Weather Service hasn't said anything more about these storms that are here, but just kind of giving us an idea that there has been some wind. Looks like torrential rain up in Faulkner County, and that warning has been extended on out. Faulkner County just over into White County and far northwest Lonoke County. It looks like Cabot almost, not quite, in that new warning out there, but it does include Valonia and almost up to BB. So it's just this whole line, really. If they were to reconfigure it, they would just make one broad area, given all of the things that are going on there. And not everybody will have strong or damaging winds. But there'll be pockets, I think, within that we're going to have to watch for that. And those little areas that bow out. And there's one right there south of Perrin. Yeah, this is going to be a rather active night. Now, this is the line of storms that, or the area, the big system coming through, an impulse that will then move the rain out, and it will start pulling in some drier or some colder air back behind it. And you'll notice it tomorrow as temperatures start to go down pretty rapidly, starting out in the mid to upper 50s, and then they'll start to tumble throughout the day. And I think we'll be down below freezing perhaps tomorrow evening. A little bit of a rebound on Saturday before that snow potential. And everybody's saying, hey, should I send my kids back to university, to wherever they're going? Maybe I should get them out of here before the snow starts. I think it's a valid thing. You probably want to get them going by Sunday morning if they're going to be traveling by car anywhere around this region. Tonight, though, this is what introduces all of it, a line of storms. We see that sometimes in the wintertime here, where we have tornado watch, we have strong thunderstorms, and then we have a snow potential, all within about 12 hours of one another. It's definitely introducing some bitter, bitter cold air coming up. But there are 3 severe thunderstorm warnings there, and we're watching that storm down around to Gray Lake. And yeah, there's going to be some potential for hail, I think, along with this possibility of severe hail. It's certainly there, and some out east of Greenbrier, but the biggest hail threat right there, north of Owensville. So that would be Highway 9 and then along the Highway 10 corridor there. Some hail starting to move into that area to the south of Lake Maumelle. Hail size, yeah, perhaps maybe coming up on an inch in diameter, but this looks a little bit larger here as that moves over toward County Line Road and Ferndale. So watch if you're in that area for the potential, at least briefly, for some hail. It may not be that large when it makes it to the ground, but it's a possibility anyway. So that's just one of the components we're looking at. We're looking for areas of rotation. Doesn't look all that likely. We look at the wind field. Now, this looks like wind to me, more so than anything else. James, you agree?
Yeah, I think so. And I expect that to continue, as these storms are going to be pretty robust as they move off towards the northeast, really from Heber Springs all the way down into Saline County. That entire line segment is severe warned right now. And I think it's going to stay severe warned for quite some time. I don't think these are going to weekend anytime soon. So the line is moving 50 to 60 miles per hour, and so it's going to race off towards the northeast. Down the line here, this is going to impact White County, Lonoke County, eventually getting into Prairie, Woodruff, and Jackson counties as well, if these things hold together. And I just experienced this here, but as you were saying, there was some small hail falling to the ground here in Faulkner County. And I expect that as this line segment moves into Pulaski County, you are gonna hear more small hail pelting the rooftop. I don't think a lot of this is severe hail. I've seen a lot of reports of smaller hail, along with the wind. That's certainly a good thing that the hail is on the smaller side, but there's quite a bit of hail headed within.
Right. Yeah. I think you're right. I think a lot of Peta marble size hail will be seen within those areas, and maybe not that severe hail, which would be an inch in diameter. If we could take a look out to the west, I think we have a camera pointed out to the west, and it is quite a light show. Okay, we might not be able to. I'll see if I can get some cameras up there, but if you look out to the west, you're going to see a lot of lightning along with this, as you might imagine, all coming into the area. Well, it's certainly not producing wind damage everywhere. We've had 2 spots, Toadsuck, we've had a spot in Perryville, oh, and we've had one more in Greenbrier and around Harris Brake Lake. So some of these are starting to come in. Multiple trees blown down, Perryville, a tree blown down, I believe. Multiple trees down near Toadsuck, and in Greenbrier, some power lines down as this area went through. So it is a wind producer, and it stretches all the way from Saline County on up into, looks like probably into Cleburne County as well, as we, yeah, moves up into the Heber Springs area. And all of those are severe thunderstorm warned and not tornado warned. And then we're watching that storm in the, well, it's in the northern part of Clark County, it appears. No, that would be Hot Spring County, western Hot Spring County, out to the west of Malvern, kind of moving that way. So folks in Malvern, just be aware there's a strong storm out there, but it doesn't appear that it is has reached severe limits, or it doesn't look like a big wind producer yet. All right, do we have that camera? We can, yeah, if you look at it there, I'm just going to back off. Yeah, wow, that is headed our way. Yeah, starting to hear some lightning, or some thunder along with that big lightning show as we look off to the west from the top of Simmons Bank Tower here in the Little Rock area. Wow, yeah, that is a big light show right there. Okay, so here it comes. It's the tail end of this, I don't think looks quite as bad as it did, and hopefully we get these starting to not be quite as prolific a wind producer, but there's certainly some wind that will be coming into that area. Again, County Line Road, out on Colonel Glenn, Ferndale Cutoff, western Pulaski County. There's going to be some wind along with those. Stretching up into Faulkner County. Very hard to get a tornado going, I think, with the temperature that is outside. We just don't have the kind of humidity values, the heat necessary for that surface base, what we call surface-based storms, where you can get air rising all the way from the surface. These are more what we call elevated. They're rising rapidly from a point up above, but they're not really surface-based, so it's hard to get a tornado going in this environment. That's really good news, but it's certainly not impossible. So we continue to watch this leading edge for any sign of rotation. And then we're going to watch this southwestern part of the state where there is some more instability. And that's on down to the southwest. All right, we have several severe thunderstorm warnings, and they will be moving on in as we head into Mayflower and on into the Pulaski County area, West Little Rock, and points there. As they move toward Little Rock, we're gonna stay with this, really coming into kind of a, we've been on it for a while now. Only one tornado warning, and that was very brief. We didn't think it would last very long, but we're just going to watch it as it kind of comes into the Little Rock area. And if it looks like it starts to weaken some, we'll send you back to programming. But for right now, hey, it's 11:23 at night, so let's just hang out together. If you, James put it very well, if you have a west-facing window, you have maybe a bedroom there, you have tall trees out there, you might want to just think about abandoning that room for just a little while, just as the front comes in. Not saying there's going to be damaging winds, but there could be a few in favored spots. There could be some little pockets of wind. By and large, there won't be, but occasionally there could be. And it's moving on into Pulaski County right now, approaching kind of the western neighborhoods of Little Rock, out into Pulaski County area, Mayflower up to Valonia right now. Valonia, you're getting a line moving all the way in to Rosebud up to the north. And that area is bowed out as well. Any rotation along it? Not a bit that I see. Yeah, kind of a smoother line right there. Probability of hail, some around Rosebud. The one that really is the hail producer is the one that's out there around Ferndale. And I think that could be the hail core that produces some maybe 1 inch in diameter hail. It's showing a little bit more than that, but we haven't had that many reports. Even if it says that the hail size is estimated to be an inch or inch plus, we haven't really seen confirmation of that. But this one says 1.62 inches, and so that even if it melted some by the time it got on down, I don't know that that would verify inch and a half plus, but I think there's a hail core moving into the Ferndale area right now. So that's going to be moving on in then to the Chenal neighborhoods, that core, and I'll put it into motion for you. Just go back a few frames and just show you if it still looks, the northern part of that doesn't look as bad up there around Lake Maumelle. But yeah, there's still a sizable hail threat, I believe, out around Ferndale with that storm, along with some rain, and I don't see anything in the way of rotation with it, but there is wind, and that is that dark color right there. That is the hail core, and this is an update of it, so let's go right, yeah. There's the core as it moves right along Highway 10 all the way down to Ferndale. So right along Ferndale cutoff right now, right there, you'll see that area of hail and possible wind as well, but I think you'll probably see some confirmation of some hailstones there moving on into the Little Rock area. Moving fairly quickly, it's made it in to the Little Rock Metro, James, and we're still under a severe thunderstorm warning, at least in the western parts of the city now.
Yeah, this line segment, you've been pointing out that hail core. It's looked more impressive the quicker or the closer it's gotten to western Pulaski County. So would not surprise me to see some quarter-size hailstones reported from West Little Rock, and eventually maybe Maumelle, as that's kind of the direction it's on, and maybe the north side of North Little Rock. This line of storms moving at 50 to 60 miles per hour. I'm going to track this from northern Saline County all the way up into Cleburne County and kind of take this out towards the east northeast. That's kind of the direction it's moving. Expecting it to reach Lone Oak shortly after midnight, Bald Knob in White County just before midnight, and it's still on track to be in downtown Little Rock here in about the next 15 to 20 minutes. So, and it may actually miss the greater downtown area. This is really primarily northern Pulaski County because these are moving east, maybe east northeast. I think this is going to just barely scrape through the downtown area. And then we're watching that storm back into Hot Spring County. There's not been a whole lot of rotation with this, but it is a fairly strong storm. And I wanted to walk through kind of what we're watching as far as for tonight. Dew points are a big part of that. That's moisture. 55 is usually too cool for tornadoes, not too cool for other types of severe weather like we're seeing. But when they get closer to 60 like they are across western and southwest Arkansas, that's possibly when you could probably see. The temperatures are actually warming across much of southern Arkansas. We're at 64 in Arkadelphia, Texarkana, El Dorado. These numbers points may be to increase this sector across southern Arkansas. So I think this model has had it well over the hours. The activity that's over central Arkansas now will move off towards the east northeast. And notice where the instability pocket is increasing as we go through the night over central and western Arkansas. So this line of storms that forms to the west, I think is going to have a better chance for wind down to the surface. So maybe a greater chance for damage. And then I think this will be the time where we may actually see isolated tornadoes along the line. That line may not reach the metro area till 3 to 5 a.m. By that point, pretty strong before it may begin to slowly weaken. But we're not done with this until sunrise when it gets out of eastern Arkansas and can say goodbye to this weather threat, hopefully for a good while. But that's kind of what we're expecting as we go through the overnight hours. This is kind of a long-winded event. Hopefully we get through it without much damage. We've already seen some damage in Perry County, Faulkner County, and it looks like for the most part the strongest section of this storm is going to miss downtown. It looks like it's headed just towards the north Little Rock, Jacksonville, and points towards the north. Maumelle, Gravel Ridge, and this take it up into Cabot. That's where the wind and hail threat is, at least at the current time. Very a good thing it's cool outside, because if it was any warmer, I think these storms would be doing a lot worse, maybe producing tornadoes and doing a lot more damage. So far, damaging wind reports, a few hail reports, and hopefully we can keep that trend going tonight. But I want everyone to know, don't turn off your warning notification later tonight, because we're going to have to watch the activity that so far is starting to show signs of development in Texas and southeast Oklahoma. That second round could be pretty potent.
It could be, and I think folks are maybe wondering, James, as far as in this area, Little Rock and just northward, I mean, it's pounding rainfall. It's going to cool the atmosphere some, but from Little Rock southward, there may not be quite as much cooling involved with this. So will the storms that we have, if you have pounding rain right now for 20 minutes, does that help your severe weather threat tonight?
Yeah, I think it does.
Yeah.
And I think the boundary for severe weather will essentially set up from Mena towards the Little Rock area
Yeah.
and to the east. And so in the southern part of the state, the southern half of the state, and I would include the metro area in this
Yeah.
because that warm air may try to push a little bit further north. But, just you don't have to panic and you don't have to stay up all night. But
No.
you just need to have a way to get warnings because if a tornado warning is issued and one very well may be later on tonight. You just need to be able to get up, go to your safe place, and the storm's moving at 60 miles per hour. You're seeking shelter for 20 minutes or so.
I think one good thing to do if you've got your phone, you've got the KATV weather app. If you've got it downloaded, or if you don't, download it real quick. It's very easy to set up, and you can set it up to notify you audibly if there's a tornado warning in your area. You can set it for anything you want, severe thunderstorm warning and tornado warning, or anything, and you can audibly have it warn you. And then if there happens to be a tornado warning, and again, I think we're talking Little Rock southward later on tonight, then you can turn here to Channel 7 and we'll keep you updated because we're not going to be leaving tonight. Somebody will be here all night long, and we'll be keeping an eye on those storms as they come in. But the models, I think, James, did very well on this because it showed as these storms kind of came into the Little Rock area that the strongest of them would then be just to the north. And you can see what's happening. That hail core out there kind of shifting north, and the trailing edge of this, there's rain certainly there, but the trailing edge is not near what it was. And when they reconfigured the warning area, they reconfigured it much farther north. So this is going to be just, the southern end is going to be brushing by kind of that northwestern part of Little Rock through Maumelle up into northern Pulaski County. But I think Little Rock, I mean, there's some spots in South Little Rock that some of this rain could eventually make its way over. But I think the storm threat is Little Rock north side and up. And so there is still some wind. There still is hail with that. We're going to keep an eye on it until this starts to die down somewhat, but the probability of any tornadoes with this, I think, is quite low, even though we're under a tornado watch. We're talking about later on. There is wind as I look at this out along the Highway 10 corridor, out around Pinnacle Mountain, up to Maumelle. There are the pockets of wind along with that. How about hail along with that? Probability of severe hail, certainly. Yeah. Out into Ferndale and points eastward and right along Highway 10 out there, I think there's going to be some decent sized hail, maybe up to 1/4 inch in diameter in a few of those really favored spots, east end of Lake Maumelle, and then on the south side through the Chenal neighborhoods out there. I think there's going to be some possibility of some hail as that moves on through. That does not necessarily mean that there'll be high winds with that, but I think there will be some pockets of high wind along with it as it moves on through. So that's the kind of the core, but you can see these storms that are trailing on down to the southwest, they just don't look as impressive as they did, and this whole thing is kind of shifting off to the north. So we go on up, and Valonia, now east of you into western White County, El Paso, Floyd, Center Hill will be next in line, and then eventually over to around Searcy and southeastern Cleburne County. So that segment right there, all the way down to those areas of West Little Rock, kind of out into the county, those are the areas, and they're all kind of moving off to the east-northeast. So we'll continue to watch this. I think they're going to hold together. I just don't think that this is going to be something that continues to get worse just down to the south of town. We're going to wait on those storms out of southeastern Oklahoma for that. Obviously, Malvern, we're watching that one storm out to the west of you. It's not considered severe right now, but it has some weight to it. It's a rather strong one. It's just that the ones from Little Rock northward are a little more likely, I think, to produce some wind. Power outages now. I'm just going to try to get the latest on that. 12,500. They've really gone up. And they're in this area right here. We're talking about places, and I'll just read them out to you. Conway County, 793, 331 in Faulkner County. So more in Conway County than in Faulkner County, even though we had some strong winds and we had some power lines down in Greenbrier. And that may be where we saw those power outages. Perry County, 241 without, 2,800 without power in Garland County. 2,800, that's quite a few. And I think that was from earlier when those storms were a little bit stronger, kind of out between Highway 70 and 270. Out there we had that hail core, and those storms don't look as strong now, but 2,800 without power. Could be lightning, could be a big transformer that was blown by lightning, could be some wind, but we haven't had any reports of trees down there, so that might be a lightning-induced type of power outage. All right, we're looking at storm scan, and it's all the way from south of Heber Springs through White County, not quite to the Searcy area now, east of Valonia, and then back down into the western parts of Pulaski County. And that area from east of Mayflower down through Maumelle right now. Still a hail threat along with that. I think the possibility of severe hail really kind of peaks out as we are in Maumelle. So right there in Maumelle and just on the other side of the river east, Pinnacle Mountain State Park and up to Maumelle right along the river. Those, I'll go back a few frames and you'll see kind of the direction of movement. Yeah.
Just received a video from a viewer of hail. It looked like there were some quarter-sized stones falling at a rapid rate in Chenal. A lot of small hailstones, though, as well. It looks like a lot of pea-sized hail is falling very quickly, and that just moved through on the other side of Chenal Mountain off of Highway 10. So that's what just moved through, and that's what's headed towards Maumelle. It looked like a lot of small hail, and hopefully it stays that way. Hopefully it's not as big as a quarter-sized, but it does look like there's some quarter-sized stones on the ground. That's going to be uploaded to chime in here shortly. But I just checked the Conway Corp website, which is the electric provider here in Conway. They are not reporting any outages here at this time. I know there's some power outages up towards Greenbrier, but at least for Conway, after that storm came through, they are not reporting any outages right now.
All right, and we're getting other reports, other notifications from out into the western part of Pulaski County of dime-sized hail, so not quite that inch in diameter. But so this is verifying. This hail core is verifying. There's I-40, there's I-430, and moving through the Maumelle area there, it would be surprising if you didn't have. I don't think this core looks quite as strong as it was on out just a little farther west. It's kind of moving off to the east-northeast. But yeah, we're getting some more reports. Here's some more video that I'm seeing from out in western Pulaski County of quite a bit of smaller, up to half-inch in diameter hail, but quite a bit of it pouring out of that storm. And pouring rain as well. The wind threat, I haven't had any reports of anybody saying we had wind along with it that was severe in nature. So that's some good news. But hail in Chenal from a viewer there. Yeah, and okay. Large hail, there's a lot of hail going on up in northwest Arkansas, it appears, as well. But we're going to continue to watch this storm as it moves on in. That's just the hail part of it. Is there wind along with it? Yeah, there's some pockets of, I think, decent wind right there in the Maumelle area, too. So quite a storm for you in Maumelle. And then moving on up to the north, it'll be approaching the Searcy area as well. So that's the boat out feature. Boy, I tell you, the models did an excellent job showing that area as it approached central Arkansas, really lifting off to the north. I mean, this was several hours ago that it showed this very thing happening. Still watching that storm down to the west of Malvern, James. A little more instability down there.
Yeah, we'll be watching that, Barry. I wanted to point out what you were just saying. I mean, look at the model data where it's initialized for 11:30 p.m. It's got that strip of storms right west of Little Rock, right to the north of Little Rock, and then it moves them off towards the northeast over the next couple of hours. Now, what I've got overlaid on here is instability, and these storms, we've been saying, don't have a whole lot to work with. There's not a lot of warmth and humidity. And so that's why we're probably not seeing the severe weather that we would otherwise be seeing. Well, this yellow shading right here is the instability that's growing and will increase in advance of our next storms that come out of Oklahoma and Texas late in the night. So you get to 1 and 2 a.m., and I think we're seeing a line of storms move into western and southwest Arkansas as we get to deep in the night. And I think these storms might actually, it's pretty rare to see instability increase like this late in the night. These storms might actually have a better chance of damaging winds and some isolated tornadoes. So from about midnight to, or I say 1 a.m., till about 6 a.m., we're going to have to watch this line across the state. And the current timing for this line to get to the metro area is going to be sometime between 3 and 5 a.m. It's going to cross from west to east. I do think high winds are going to be a very good bet with that before it clears out towards the east. And then we're going to get a whole lot colder, Barry. But model data picking up on that very well. And unfortunately, that is not a good trend for late in the night. Nobody wants to deal with high winds or severe weather late in the night. But that's what we're going to have to watch the rest of tonight.
I agree. I think that's the area of concern, and it'll be primarily from Little Rock down to the south, and that's coming in a little later. Still, just watching that storm between Hot Springs and Malvern, and we're getting more video now confirming that hail core is indeed getting some hail to the ground of size, and I think there's marginally severe hail that I'm seeing in Maumelle. Yeah, some chunks, it looks like to me, that exceed 1 inch in diameter there as it moves in. So let's go back to that area. You can always notify us. I'm at KATV Barry on the X platform, and possibility of hail. Well, now look at this. This is the probability of severe hail, and look how that area has collapsed over the last few frames. Let me just go back in time here, just a few. Look at this. I don't know if it's getting closer to the radar site. That may have something to do with it, but boy, it doesn't look like near the hail core that it had as it moves off to the northeast of Maumelle. Wind-wise, there's still some wind with it. It's as it moves across I-40. That is a severe thunderstorm warmed area, and that has been now extended out to Jacksonville, Cabot, and over into Lonoke County. And they're going to keep severe thunderstorm warnings along this line. They'll continue to be extended out, at least if it looks like there is some wind potential. The hail potential, certainly with this southernmost storm, which is around Maumelle, moving over into the north and northwestern part of Pulaski County. There's Valonia off to the east, headed over toward Beebe, Searcy as well. Some wind, and I would imagine some small hail in there as well. And then all the way up into Independence County, we have severe thunderstorm warnings. These will go on for a while. Doesn't mean that there's going to be a lot of damage with this. If you happen to get in one of those cores where there's some sizable hail, that could be a damage producer. Right now, though, I haven't seen any other wind reports. I'm only seeing those hail reports out of this. So wind, yeah, I think there are pockets of wind along it, but for right now, I'm not seeing a lot of those, and I continue to look. Yeah, a lot of people sending in videos now of just hail just dumping, but about dime-sized hail.
I've got another picture of quarter-sized hail from Maumelle. Maybe a little bigger than quarter-sized hail.
Okay, yeah, there were, I think some of those chunks that I saw from Maumelle exceeded 1 inch in diameter, and the radar was estimating 1.7 or so, so, you know, it was doing a pretty good job, I think. Here's where it is right now, the hail core, what's left of it, and it continues to roll on there on the east side of Maumelle, so the Morgan exit and off to the east there. And then it will be headed over into Camp Robinson and then over toward Cato area. Those are our severe thunderstorm warnings, and they extend all the way up to the northeast. Any place else along there with a big hail threat, it doesn't appear right now. Rotation-wise, don't see anything of note at all there.
So Barry, we're we're getting a new severe thunderstorm warning for that storm that is down in southwest Arkansas. Down, I'm not in southwest Arkansas, but down to the southwest of Little Rock.
Yeah, the one coming in on Malvern.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, we're going to watch that one then. And yeah, that's the one that's kind of there into that instability.
Yeah, it's a little bit more by itself. I think as of right now, they're saying quarter-size hail could be falling from this one. So this is going to approach the I-30 corridor, and this is going to approach at just to the north of Rockport and Malvern, over towards Benton, Bryant, Haskell. And this could track up into the southern side of the Little Rock area. Just looking at the observations at Adams Field, the temperature at the airport is quite a bit warmer than it is off towards the north where it's been raining. It's 63 degrees at the Little Rock Airport, Barry, but the dew point is still 55 degrees. So maybe tough to get a tornado as it approaches the airport, but not impossible. There is just maybe a bit of weak rotation with that, but I think the concern right now maybe the hail and wind threat with this more classic-looking structure. I think this storm is growing also, so the hail size indicator saying marble size hail, it may actually end up being larger than that as it approaches areas towards the northeast. I think this is going to produce quarter size hail. So Saline County, the southern sections of Saline County, has mostly avoided all this. That may not be the case going forward.
Right. Those areas that haven't had any rain, and really because we've had all of this lift up, let's go, to storm scan if we can. And, the tail end of that lifted up so much that hardly any rain at all through the Little Rock area, except maybe for a couple of hours ago when we had some just very light rain here. But we'll watch that storm, a new warning going to be issued along that. And this is just it's just a long line now where I think hail is our primary threat. It will continue to move into the Cabot area, the 167 corridor. It'll be approaching there. All of those are severe warned. Up on the screen, we're going to be leaving our bug down in this lower right-hand corner of the screen. And there are warnings there, and there could be a few more, and we continue to watch these as we head into the nighttime hours here. I know that with that next batch that forms a little bit later on, those will be solidly, there'll be a lot of folks asleep. That's why you need some way to be alerted when there is a severe thunderstorm warning. It's very easy to download the KATV weather app. You can set the notifications you want. Hey, I only want a tornado warning. Fine, you can set it for that, and your mobile device will automatically, just as soon as it's issued, it will notify you, and then you can turn it on here, and we'll give you the details, because no medium does it better than television as far as showing the radar and analyzing what we're looking at. We just, that's one of the great technology features now that we have available to us with Doppler radar as well, and the ability to show you exactly where those areas of rotation and hail are and wind are along these lines. Again, these are severe thunderstorm warnings. There are no tornado warnings in effect anywhere within the state, and we're going to continue to watch that storm out to the west of Malvern, but for right now, it looks like these are just severe thunderstorm warnings. And so we're going to continue to do that. North Pulaski County, all the way up into southeastern Faulkner County and White County. Those are the areas that we're looking at. And that will continue to move off to the northeast. The models did a very good job showing kind of that lifting, and it showed it lifting further up into northeast Arkansas. As they get up into the northeastern part of the state, there's kind of a broad area of rain there, so hopefully that will weaken those. And then we watch just the first signs of some storms forming out into the southeastern part of Oklahoma, and areas of instability. There's just plenty of instability down in that southwestern part of the state for this time of the year. For springtime, we'd be looking at this saying, yeah, there's not much there. But this time of the year, if there can be any storms that get going, they can tap into that wind energy above. And if they can become rooted at the surface, there is some marginal tornado threat. We can't say there's a zero tornado threat, because it's just not a zero threat tonight. I wish we could say that.
All right, Barry, we'll continue watching the storm that's moving into Saline and Pulaski counties. I think right now it's a hail threat. It doesn't look like it's imminently going to rotate.
Yep.
Just a wind and hail risk there. It is going to be a long night for us. Melinda Mayo will be in later tonight as we track the storms that are going to move out of northeast Texas and Oklahoma. They have rapidly developed now in northeast Texas, and
Mm-hmm.
so that is the next line. You see, there's a lot of clear air between the storms approaching central Arkansas and the storms back into northeast Texas. Hopefully, we get through this without much more, but I think we're going to see damaging winds really be the main story as we go through the rest of the night.
Okay. Well, we will. We'll keep an eye on that storm out to the northwest of Malvern, the ones down North Pulaski County and on up into White County. Right now, they look like they will have some wind, a marginal threat there. We're going to continue to keep a close watch on those. For now, we're going to send it back to programming, but we are here. And if we get any reports of damage, if there's any report of large hail, we're going to be back. And we'll be back periodically. And certainly, if there's a tornado warning on the air, we're going to be watching this line and the one to come later on tonight. So thanks for trusting us here at Channel 7. And we'll be with you throughout the evening. Just be aware in that 67-167 corridor, you've got a line of storms that are coming through. look at the hail possibilities along with it. And yeah, there is the hail core up to the north, always to the north of where we would have some rotation. The rotation, though, yeah, it would be within this area right there where the E and the T of the Magnet Cove up to the north of Highway 270, and then it will be moving toward the I-30 corridor. James, this is the southernmost of those storms that we're talking about. These are all kind of lined up. We're not as concerned with those, although there's severe thunderstorm warned, but down to the southwest, that is the storm that we've been watching.
Yeah, this is a much more concerning storm than the
Yeah.
one that we saw going into western Faulkner County earlier. This is a much more classic look. I want everybody in Haskell, Benton, Bryant, and the southern section of Saline County to go ahead and start making your way to your tornado safe place. I think this storm is going to be capable of putting down a tornado. I don't think one's down yet, but I think it's going to be capable of it. The circulation is just north of Military Cutoff Road. This is just to the north of Glen Rose. Remember, there's a delay on radar. And if you're watching on streaming, you may be delayed another couple of minutes. So when we're talking about the location of a tornado, try to remember that. Fairplay Road is coming up here in far southwest Saline County, and there's the exit for Old Military Road there. This is going to be moving up into Benton, the Benton area, here very soon. And remember, these storms tonight are going to be moving very quickly. This is moving northeast at 50 miles per hour. So I'm going to put a storm track on this to let you know when this is going to be tracking. If it holds together, it will eventually make it up into Pulaski County, but moving at greater than 50 miles per hour. I mean, this could be in the Little Rock, the south side of the Little Rock area, at about 1240 or 1245. And this, I think, is an immediate threat now for the southern Saline County area. This is going to be right along Interstate 30. It may eventually cross over Interstate 30. In fact, if I just kind of drew a straight line, this is going to cross over Interstate 30 right near Haskell before moving towards Benton and Bauxite. So Benton, Bauxite, Haskell, make sure you're getting in your tornado safe place. I'd say at the moment, this is going to stay north of Traskwood and Tull there in the northern part of Grant County. And Barry, this is going to be one it's moving into an extremely high populated area, and everybody needs to take their tornado precautions right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. If we can go to max 2, if we can go to max 2, what he just showed there. But again, this is probably with just some delay in the process. It's already on the I-30 corridor moving into Haskell. Please get into on the southwest side of Benton there. Now this is Highway 70 where it cuts off of I-30. So maybe just right there at that intersection or just south. That's where it's going to be moving. I think the most likely area would be on the south side of Benton, but it certainly looks like that has the potential of producing a tornado.
Barry, if you're looking at the latest scan,
yeah.
If you're in Haskell, you've got to get in a safe place.
Yeah, please do. Right along there, along Highway 67 as it parallels 30 there. Please get into that lowest spot in your house, the most interior spot of your house. Put walls and windows, put walls between you and the outside. Get away from windows and get down into that lowest spot. But that's quite a couplet right there. And that's that storm that is tapping into some of that instability, and it didn't have to compete like the other storms. I'm going to put this back into motion. We'll go back the past few scans, and you can see this was at 11:48, and right there at Magnet Cove, it began to organize. And that last one, if anything, I think it's jogged maybe a little bit north. Benton, I'm just going to go ahead and say, if you're in Benton right now, you're in Bauxite, go ahead and prepare to go to that lowest level of your house. Take the precaution of making yourself safe. I don't know if this is producing a tornado. It certainly looks like it could be. Please get into that lowest spot in your house, the most interior spot. If you've got a sub-level, a basement of some sort, a storm cellar, it's time to get into that. If not, just get into the middle of the house, and we'll hope to see that this rotation starts to weaken some, but it is certainly tightened up right there at the junction of 70 and 30, kind of on the Benton Services exit down here, Haskell. All of those folks need to be in a safe spot. We continue to look at a hail core off to the north side of that, but the big threat is not the hail. It is the possible tornado along with that.
Well, Barry, I'm going to look through a debris detector to see if we can detect anything. So far, I don't have anything. There's one possibility that may, that I hope is the case. These velocities could be some large hail contamination.
Yep.
And on the latest scan, it kind of makes me think that a little bit more. There's no doubt still there's some rotation there. So there's very possible that we could have a tornado, but I'm hoping it's large hail contamination. It's making it look worse than it is.
Yeah, I would agree, because the last scan doesn't look quite as bad, but we're just gonna play this as though it is a tornado and hope that it is not. But that is that area right there, and we'll go back into the velocity mode, and you might be right. It's kind of, as you said, contaminated a little bit there, but there is some sort of rotation, at least a broad area of rotation there. And so if you're in that area, let's just assume that there could be something going on. And if there's not, great. Your efforts were not wasted by going down into the middle of the house. But we'll continue to watch these. But it kind of lines up, James, with where the hail core is. And that makes me think that you might be right on that.
I certainly hope so, but we certainly won't treat it as anything else other than a possible tornado. And so the area of rotation is near Point View Road and Townsend Road. And this is going to cross over Interstate 30 very soon, Barry. And I think we may be able to get an iDrive camera right there at the Highway 70 exit. You see there's Highway 70, there's the Highway 70 exit off of I-30. This is going to be on that here within the next 2 or 3 minutes. I believe I can access the VRAD computer. I'm going to work on getting that.
Here, I've got it. I'm gonna bring it up there, and it has warnings on it. I'm going to take the warnings off and the radar off, and we're just going to look for cameras. And yeah, there are some. I don't know if they are functioning right there, but it's in the construction area.
Oh, that's a good camera right there.
It's mile marker 112.
Let's see if we can look towards the west, unless that's pointed the right direction.
Looks like a possible, yeah, you can see it when it illuminates there, possible little low cloud base there off in the distance. I guess that's looking off to the south or to the southwest.
Yeah, Barry, on the latest scan, that scan has jumped quite a bit right over I-30, a little bit more broad and a little bit more elongated. So
okay, good.
Maybe this is including a little bit of large hail, but the rotation's still there. I do want to pull up exactly where the hail is. It's going to be probably quarter size moving off to the east, just to the north of where the area of rotation would be. The storm itself, moving at 50 miles per hour, is very soon. The north side with hail is going to get through Benton and Bryant. The side that's got the possibility of a tornado will pass just north of Haskell and then in through the south side of Benton and then probably into the Boxside area.
Okay, yeah. We're seeing some of those cameras right there at the junction of 70 and 30 are temporarily unavailable, it says. A lot of those, yeah, are on the southwest side of Benton at the fairgrounds. Yeah, a lot of rain there. Those are their RDOT cameras. So we'll continue to watch that. But as we go back, this is still a tornado warned storm. So if you're in the Benton area, if we go back to computer number 2, if you're in the Benton area, I'd say just get into a safe spot. And again, if it's not a tornado, that's great. It does look much broader, even though we're getting closer to it. But there could be some, as James mentioned, some hail contamination with this, kind of making the beam go everywhere. But that's just something that we're going to not assume, and we're going to say that if you're in that area from Highway 70 and I-30 junction all the way up into Benton it's time to get into the safe spot there. It's moving quickly. How long are you going to be there? Not very long at all. So get away from walls and windows, get into the interior, the lowest level of your home, and even into a small bathroom or closet out in the middle of the house. It's always a great idea. This storm will not be there forever. It will continue to move through. We're going to put this back into motion for you, and you can see the rotation area that we saw there. Here's radar, and I'll go back some frames, and it shows it moving up into the area too. We're just not sure, James, if that is a tornado or not, but certainly it could be.
Yeah, and again, this area is moving up into a fairly cooled off area. The temperature is above 60 degrees. Dew point still a little low. So what makes me think this is large hail contamination is you don't quite have a couplet to couplet. You just kind of got this random area of higher wind speeds, which is kind of dislocated from the storm itself. If we were going to find a tornado, it would be right here.
Right.
Right on the interstate. And that is not exactly where the highest velocities are lining up. So that is a really good sign as far as the tornado threat is concerned. I'm waiting to see what the National Weather Service has to say about this.
They haven't indicated that, they haven't said anything about it. No. But let's just say I think where that is on the storm scan there's I know what you're saying. You're seeing this area of red out here to the west of Benton, but where it would be it would be much closer to where 67 or where 70 and 30 come together there, which would be down here, where would reflectivity, and I'll show you reflectivity, which is just rain. Yeah, that area would be where you would see it, and we're seeing a big reflectivity or a big velocity product up here, but that would be where the hail is. So this is the area we would watch as it moves off. And it's still a tornado warned area. We're still warning you if you're on that south of Benton to the southwest side there. We're still saying get into that safe spot. It's moving very quickly. We'll be anxious to see the next scan. And the National Weather Service, I'm sure, is looking at this storm quite closely as well. I don't want to just concentrate on that one because there still are storms from Cabot moving up to Beebe. That's a little bit of a boat out area right there. On up to Searcy, you've had an area go through Bald Knob right now. And some of the strongest ones perhaps just to the north of Conway there, or of Cabot rather, with the probability of hail, around Ward along 67, 167. And moving off to the east. But that is a long line. We haven't had any reports of damage along that in quite some time. That's the good news out of all this. But we're watching the tornado warned storm down to the south, and that's the one that this little tail would be what we're most concerned about.
So for locations in Haskell, Benton, Bryant, Shannon Hills down the line, go ahead and be ready to move into your tornado safe place. Still some fairly strong wind velocities here on this storm right over I-30, right approaching the Benton area. You know, when a storm is this close to the radar, if a tornado is on the ground, is going to pick up the debris. And good news right now is I do not see any debris being thrown into the air. And the things you look for to confirm a tornado with radar are just not lining up. So that's good news. Looking at the Weather Service chat, they don't have any reports of damage just yet, and that's a good sign for those of you in Benton. But it's still a strong storm, and there's still some hail on the north side. The hail core up here to the north of Benton through Shaylo and on Congo Road and out towards Highway 5. That's going to be on the east side of Crows. That's where the hail core is right now, and that hail core is probably going to be impacting Shannon Hills. Could see up to quarter-sized hail within this storm as it moves off towards the east. I'm a lot more hopeful with the tornado threat that on a downtrend as it approaches the metro area. We'll see what the thoughts are from the National Weather Service. They are going to continue. It looks like this tornado warning. It expires here. For those of you that are in the western sections of Platte County, this tornado warning expires at 12:50. So I doubt they're going to cancel they might just let it go till 12:15. They just not reissue it. But for those of you that are on the southwest side of Little Rock, our Melinda Mayo has said that she tornado warning sirens ongoing in Chenal. Well, this storm is way removed from West Little Rock, and I don't think there's any tornado threat to the southwest side of Little Rock. So if you're in the southwest side of Little Rock and you're tuning into us, even there at the 40-30 split, I think this is just going to be large hail. I think the tornado, if there was one, is going to pass well to the south in the southern part of Saline County and into southern Pulaski County, if that's the track that it takes. And hopefully we begin to see this start to diminish, looking at velocities that don't quite match up with where you would see a tornado. And Barry, in your experience, usually you get a pretty pronounced debris signature when there's something this close to Little Rock.
Yeah, if you saw that, and you'd say, oh well, there's something there, and yet you don't see any debris. That is you would think that something is wrong there, but still, it's a tornado warning. And you are exactly right. Up here at this northern extent of this, there's no tornado threat up there as we are looking at it right now. So and that's why if you have the app and the tornado siren goes off in your area, or you're in a tornado warning box, that doesn't mean that everywhere within a large area like that will be affected by what is a very small area with a rotation potential, which would go way off to the south. So if you're hearing the warning sirens go off in Little Rock and you've turned the television on, let me just tell you, we're watching southwest Little Rock down at Alexander, but this is the storm. This little tail on this storm is really what we're watching more closely. And the Weather Service is going to let this go until its expiration time at least, 12:15. But what we're seeing, it would be that little tail hanging down there. And is there anything wind-wise that would correspond to that? Boy, I don't see it. It's displaced up right where the hail core is. Yeah, so see, the hail core is up here. So you're in the Salem community up here. That is going to be some significant hail. It's estimating around 2-inch in diameter hail. And we already saw the confirmation of what this was looking at. It happened in Maumelle, inch, maybe inch plus in diameter. So there's going to be some hail on the north side there of Interstate 30, north side of Bryant. This will be moving off to the northeast and then moving on up. But the wind part of this, the rotation part of this, yeah, it doesn't correspond with what the storm looks like, which would be, if it was anything, would be on the south end of this. So I'm just going to tell you, this is a tornado warned storm. It's approaching the Benton area. Not everything is lining up, but be prepared. If you start to hear the winds pick up, be prepared to go to that middle part of your house, or just be in the middle part of your house. Just go to that lowest level. The storm will be past you. And just imagine a car going by your house at 50 miles per hour. Yeah, it's going to be gone pretty quickly.
The National Weather Service is considering reissuing the tornado warning for Saline and into Pulaski County. They believe the rotation from where we first saw it may have decreased. So maybe perhaps back when this storm was in southwest Saline County, it did look a lot better.
Yeah.
They say it may be cycling to where it'll try to respawn. And
yeah, just north of Benton there. Just
yeah,
on the
you
interstate.
see how the storm has kind of reoriented itself, maybe in a little bit more of a favorable orientation to produce a tornado. It looks like your winds are starting to line up a little bit more with the area of the storm that could produce a tornado. So that's happening right over Benton. Doesn't look like that it is on the ground right now, but there's still a possibility that this storm, your classic supercell, could end up producing a tornado. And so that's the concern from the National Weather Service, because it's kind of your more classic supercell look.
Yeah, exactly. But we're going to watch it. And because Benton and Bryant, you're both in a tornado warning, just take the tornado precautions right now, because it could be cycling. There may be nothing to it. I would watch that area, though, very close to Benton and just tracking right along I-30 with the hail core up to the north of that. So that would be what is going to be headed up toward Otter Creek and those areas out to the southwest and western side of Little Rock. But right along the I-30 corridor, if there is something there, that's probably where we'd be most concerned. James is looking at it at this time.
Okay, they're going to go with the new tornado warning, and it's going to go up into parts of Little Rock and North Little Rock. So we're going to continue to
Yeah.
track this. So far, we have not had a tornado report
No.
or any damage. But the storm that's tracking into southern Pulaski County soon does have the look. And what I mean by that is that wind can flow freely into this storm, and you can actually get some rotation right here, and that's happening right now over the city of Benton. So Benton, you see the streets there north. If you're north of Benton Parkway, get down into your tornado safe place. If you're at Saline County Regional, you need to be getting away from windows. If you're north of Bauxite, up into Bryant, Alexander, Redgate, all these locations, you need to be going to your tornado safe place. Hey, it's our hope that nothing happens. That would be the best case scenario, but better safe than sorry. This eventually gets into Pulaski County on the south side, far south side of Little Rock, but this is pretty much going to ride I-30 through Bryant and just south of Alexander. So there's a very high populated area there, Barry, with obviously Benton. I don't think we're seeing anything on the debris detector that makes me think we have a tornado down.
No, but there is something there, and just the shape of the storm, I think, is probably a little more alarming. And if it's there, it would be right in this area, just to the northeast of Benton. Something right there that doesn't exactly correspond with the hail core. So right there, coming into Bryant, if you're in the Bryant area, just go ahead and there's the new scan. Gosh, it's really hard to tell. Let's just look. But yeah, right there, just coming into Bryant, I think right there, that is an area of concern. So go ahead, Bryant, just go ahead and get in your tornado safe spot. This has some, it's a little farther up the road than even this shows, because there is some processing time. And if you're streaming it, or there's just a little bit of lag time there. So on top of you in Bryant right now, and moving parallel to I-30. We're going to watch this, and it may not be producing a tornado, but let's just say that it is possible. And so take the precaution of getting away from exterior walls and windows, and get as many walls between you and the outside as you can. And small bathrooms, small closets, that's a great place to go. But get down low all along, and in that broad area right there. And if we back this out a little bit, you're talking about the northern edge of this tornado warning, which now extends up into southwest Little Rock, all the way along the 630 corridor, all the way up into the Heights here, all the way to downtown. That tornado warning extends. But the movement of this has really closely paralleled I-30. And the north edge of that is more rain and hail than the southern part of it. And that's where the wind is flowing freely, as James mentioned, into that storm. Still not exactly sure on specific. It doesn't look like a classic look of rotation there, but those little notches are worrisome, and that notch right there. So again, though, we've been talking about it a while, and we're waiting on the next scan. So the storm is already on you in Bryant. Let me just tell you, whether or not there's a tornado, and there may very well not be, it is on top of you right now, and it will continue over towards Shannon Hills and the Mablevale area, perhaps Vimy Ridge, and on down to the south. We'll back this out, and there's just not a whole lot else going on except for the storms that are now from Jackson County to eastern White County, and another storm that's down to the south of Searcy and Beebe, and that's a severe thunderstorm warned cell there, and it looks like it may have some wind along with it, and certainly some hail. That has been a hail producer for a while now, off to the east and to the northeast of Beebe as it moves off to the east. But that's not the tornado warned storm. And we look on Doppler radar, we look at the wind, at the velocity product on this. And James, it's hard to pick out, but I'm going to say, because of the structure of that storm, this would be an area of concern.
Yeah, we just got a new scan, and there's a lot of it looks like odd-looking data. So we'll look at reflectivity. If we were going to have any type of tornado, it's going to be right there on the west side of Bryant, closing in on Saline County Regional. and on the south side of Bryant there, right just to the south of I-30. Now this is going to be moving off towards the east-northeast, so this is headed towards the south side of Alexander and into Shannon Hills and onto the south side of Mableville there if it crossed into Pulaski County. I think the tornado warning is out of an abundance of caution for the time of night. Many people are asleep. The storm has been rotating at times. We still, I think we're not seeing anything that leads me to believe a tornado is on the ground at this moment. But take your precautions. You know, tornadoes can spawn from these storms very quickly when they have this look and they're in the right environment. So that's why we're watching it. That's why we're staying by the Weather Service tornado warning. Kind of has that look, Barry, where you got the classic supercell look. This storm is all by itself. I think really the only thing it's missing is warmer air.
Oh, yeah. If we had a little bit warmer and a little more instability, humidity at the ground level, that's what a supercell looks like with the hail core up here and then the trailing edge coming down right there. But it's not just apparent that there's anything happening. We're going to assume, though, that there is for safety's sake. Bryant, Shannon Hills, you've got to get into that safe spot. And once the storm passes, go on back to bed, because at that point your storm threat really, with this storm anyway, really goes away. We're going to watch it as it moves up toward the Little Rock area. But the structure, if you just look at it, if you had to just pick one storm, you've got all these storms kind of connected together, but this one is all out by itself, and we just don't like to see that. It just isn't a perfect environment for a tornado, but if it can get going, it taps into wind energy above. It doesn't have to be perfect to make for a tornado that can be all the way down to the ground. And I'm just saying, in Bryant and points eastward, yeah, this just doesn't look good to me, James.
Yeah, me either.
Bryant, right on top of Bryant.
I would just
I think it's
take your tornado precautions. Just make sure that you are not anywhere near this. I'm looking at this on Storm Scan, Barry, and now we're getting a really tight couplet off to the northeast of town. Now we're finally
there's
seeing
the brand
things
new one
come
right
together.
there.
And so that's what's really concerning here. Off
right
to the
there.
east and northeast of Bryant. I think Storm Scan may actually have it a little bit better.
Yeah, it's right there. It's going to be moving south of Alexander or very near Alexander. So if you're anywhere along there, Vimy Ridge, Shannon Hills, that looks way more. And the rotation, there is some indication of rotation with it, but just the look of the storm itself made me think in that last scan that there is something to this, and I believe there is. And then we can project out into the future, this moving through Shannon Hills down into southwest Little Rock. We're talking about south of I-30, this moving out into Pulaski County. But that looks like to me an area of concern right there. And it doesn't look like where the hail core is up there, that contamination up there. That looks like, both structure-wise and wind-wise, a couplet that is definitely capable of producing a tornado. So please get into that safe spot, Shannon Hills, Vimy Ridge, those areas down to the south of Alexander.
Yeah, this one looks a lot more legit. Just from everything. The storm structure did kind of recycle itself and reoriented itself to the point where now down the road into southern Pulaski County, you need to start thinking about your tornado safe place. We've been talking about communities that are very close. Bryant, I hope you're in your tornado safe place, but this is going to be moving off towards the east-northeast, so that's going to place it in southern Pulaski County here very soon, between College Station and Wrightsville, and I believe this is going to stay almost entirely south of Interstate 30 in Little Rock. So all the homes and business, or all the homes there that are south of Interstate 30 in the Little Rock city limits, go ahead and take your tornado safe place. That includes US 367, Geyer Springs Road down towards Shannon Hills, and those of you off of 338, Arkansas 338. Barry, we'll continue to get updates here, but really tight circulation there just on the east side of Bryant.
Yeah, and it is it's definitely concerning. Here's this in motion, and I'm just going to put it in for the last 15 minutes, and we'll show you at the little trailing edge there. I'll just back up and just show you the wind field with this and the structure of it. And we were just like, where is the rotation? We were just kind of trying to pinpoint it because it didn't look all that clear. And then all of a sudden, we began to see it east of Bryant really starting to tighten up there. That looks like a new scan to me as well. And let's see if there's a reflectivity scan that goes with that. Well, it doesn't look as pronounced as it did just one scan ago, and I'll show you what I mean. See that scan? And then this is the latest scan, but it would be in this area right here. There still looks to be a rotation center as it moves off to the east. So Vimy Ridge and Shannon Hills, south of I-30, Mableville area, and up the parts of Little Rock south of I-30. We're going to watch that area. It just, and given the environment, if there is a tornado, James, it might be such a case that it can't sustain itself. It spins up briefly, but then it has a hard time of having enough warmth, enough instability, enough vertical lift to keep it really going. And we hope that that's the case. But you watch those little trailing appendages there on a large storm, and that is the one. That's why we're saying get it into your safe spot down in southwest Little Rock.
Barry, we're at 20,000 power outages for the state right now. I don't see any coming, or hardly any, 59 in Saline County. So you'd have to think if we had something go through Benton or Bryant, we'd have a numerous amount of power outages. We do not. So that's good news. I'm monitoring the socials and the National Weather Service, and we have, as of right now, no reports of damage. So
yeah,
it's my hope that this storm is not doing any damage. I'm scrolling through my Twitter feed here. And I don't see anything from anybody. I don't have any Facebook messages from anybody. A lot of hail reports. Now they've got I've got a report from Perryville. We can get into this later, but multiple trees down, or that's at Harris Break. Harris Break Fire reporting trees down on houses. So there has been some damage, but so far not in Saline County, Barry. There's still some very strong winds flowing into this storm. Maybe the reflectivity just doesn't look quite as ominous as it did a couple minutes ago.
No, it really, nor does the structure of the storm look as ominous. And boy, that's just what we were hoping for. I still think if you're in that area, though, down around Shannon Hills, around Alexander right now, but it looks different than it did. And by different, I mean better. And that's great. You're still in a tornado-warned area. Please be leery of this storm as it moves in. Down here in Riverdale, we just had, well, we're up here closer, but it's pouring rain outside. And all through Little Rock, West Little Rock, back into Kamak Village, all the way down to Rodney-Parham Corridor, all the way down Bowman Road and on into the Alexander area. But that little small edge, that southern end of that storm, that's what was worrisome to us. And I think still there's some rotation, some inflow trying to come into that storm. Doesn't look as impressive as it did, and boy, for that we are super grateful. But through the Benton and Bryant area, it certainly looked a little bit better from time to time, and I'm still getting no power outages from Saline County, or just hardly any. 59 in the whole county, 3,500 without power in Garland County, and I've got to think that may not have been wind at all. That may be lightning related because there was prolific lightning along with that. There could have been some wind out there, but I never saw a storm moving through Garland County that looked like that, except for the one a little while ago that was between 70 and 270 that had a hail core inside of it. So we're going to continue to watch for those power outage numbers. Certainly moving into the Little Rock right now, the rain and small hail part of this storm just coming right through the city. But we're going to watch the south extent of that, south or along I-30 in this tornado-warned area. And I assure you that the Weather Service is looking at that and saying, yeah, I don't think it looks quite like it did. The storms that are following right behind it are going to be moving into an area that has already been very, very rain-cooled. So we're not so worried about those storms back behind. We're just going to worry about this storm, which is kind of out by itself. And other storms, boat out area, James, I don't know if you've been seeing this from Judsonia down to
Oh yeah.
Griffithville. This area is bowed out. There's going to be some wind in that. This is a severe thunderstorm warning we've been concentrating on, but the probability of hail is very high with that storm. Look at the there's big hailstones within that, but it is also bowed out, which gives you an indication that there could be some wind inside that as well. And so that's why we are continuing to watch that. But that looks like, of this whole line, that line right there to the south of Searcy in White County, that looks like the strongest, and it will continue to move over toward Woodruff County, eventually crossing the White River very soon.
Yeah, that's probably going to have some 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts. I did get a picture from Searcy of, again, hail covering the ground. So I think that's just what went through Searcy. That's another good hail core. Barry, I think we're probably seeing some hail now falling up in Little Rock. This is the part of the storm in North Little Rock and in Little Rock that is not got the tornadic portion of it. The part of the storm that would have a tornado is down near Mableville, and thankfully we're continuing to see the latest rotational scans shows that it's weakening. And weakening. I think part of that may be due. It's moved away from the warmer air that it was in about a county ago to the southwest.
Yeah, farther north it goes, a little bit cooler up there. What I'm seeing in the hail core is right here south. There's Shackleford Crossing shopping area just to the south of that, moving up into that area, and there's 630 right across the top of the screen there. I'll make it just a little bit more clear for you. Looks like there is some hail core there moving up into the Little Rock area. So that is in the tornado warned area. There are sirens going off, but what we're more concerned about is the southern part of it, down around Mableville, as far as any rotation, any enhancement in that wind field. But this is the rain and the hail core. Now there's a brand new scan, and just a lot of there's just not a lot there. It's having a hard time going through that hail core, it looks like, looking at the southern part of that storm. But I don't see anything of note there, and hopefully that is some really good news with this storm. It looks a little more ragged than it did, I guess is the word maybe that I'm looking for. Not so organized as it did, but along this corridor, along I-30 and just to the south, I want you to go ahead and get into that interior part of your house, or be ready to go at a moment's notice if the winds really start to pick up, because it is still a tornado warned storm, and I'm sure the National Weather Service will be talking about that. We actually monitor what their thoughts are, so they work with us. If we have information, we give it to them, they give it to us as well, but they're charged with issuing these warnings, and so they continue to look at this storm.
This tornado warning remains in effect until 12:45. So about 13 more minutes before this is going to expire, and this is for really the eastern sections of Pulaski County. This is going to be south of Little Rock and North Little Rock, and off towards the east, towards Scott and College Station, and this is going to eventually cross the Arkansas River very soon.
Yeah, and that's good news. I hope this is a sign that it is moving into a less conducive environment. Again, we still have that strong area of bowed out, wind producing and hail producing storms from Judsonia bowing out down to Griffithville, and it will eventually move over to the White River and move on into Woodruff County. There is a hail concern with that, probability of severe hail. Yeah, right there, right in the middle of it, and estimating 1 inch plus in diameter. So I'm sure, and we already had confirmation of Searcy with hail covering the ground there. So this is a hail producing storm, one of those elevated thunderstorms that and those are the ones that we look for hail potential. Later on tonight, I don't think that's going to be as great a potential. I think we're going to watch these storms that are starting to form out in southeast Oklahoma. They'll start to come this way. Weather Service says that the storm here in Little Rock, speaking of it, definitely losing the impressive structure that it once had. I'm going to zoom in on this, and yeah, we've still just got to watch that area. I think right there, that little appendage, still some rotation trying, doesn't look impressive at all. Velocity data down low is becoming very messy, says the National Weather Service, which I said it looks kind of ragged, having a hard time seeing it because there's so much between the National Weather Service radar and what's happening down here. And they're going to hang on to the tornado warning for a little bit longer until they get a little bit better view of the storm as it moves on out. So this is going to continue all along I-30 and just to the south of it, moving over toward 530 corridor in very short order. It won't take very many, it won't be very many miles over there, but that's what we're looking at. And there still could be wind with this. Hail probability, well, look at that. The hail core in Little Rock, and I'll back up just a little bit. It looks, now that and just as I say that, I'm listening outside. I think we may have a little bit of hail falling outside here. So I'll take a quick look at that coming up. But yeah, other than that, this storm still an impressive storm with a lot of rain, a lot of lightning, a lot of wind, and it is tornado warned, but we're going to watch especially that south part of it along I-30. And that's kind of radar interpretation. If you just looked at this, it's a rather broad area, but in a tornado warning, it's not the whole area that gets a tornado. It's a tiny area of it. And so that's why having Doppler radar to look at and analysis on it is so helpful. Doesn't look as impressive as it did, though, James.
They're saying they're starting to look above the storm. We're so close to the radar. They're going up in tilt a little bit. They think the updraft strength on the storm is still intact.
Okay.
That's just fancy to say we still got to watch this storm. I think along its track so far, we have gotten lucky. We've not seen any tornado touchdown. We've seen no reports of damage. Checking on power outages. While they are over 20,000 in the state, they have not increased at all in Saline or Pulaski counties.
No,
so,
not at all.
Being in a highly populated area, we would know almost immediately if something was going on, and so that's certainly some good news. We still have the area of rotation that we're watching, and I'd say we're going to have to watch this for at least the next 10 minutes. This is going to get close to the Pulaski, Faulkner County, or not Faulkner, the Pulaski Lonoke County line here within the next 10 minutes. This is moving quickly. We're talking 40 to 50 miles per hour, and I'll put a storm track on that just for down the road, just so those of you towards the east kind of know what time this is headed your direction. This is going to be near College Station on the south side of Little Rock in about 4 minutes. And then on to Lonoke here at about 1:10, here in about 30 minutes or so, and then it's going to be towards the Carlisle and Hazen area there after that. If it holds together, it is eventually going to be out of the best ingredients as far as producing a tornado. It may go on to continue to produce hail. But those of you who are joining us, if you're happening to hear tornado sirens in North Little Rock, Sherwood, Jacksonville, maybe even up into western sections of Pulaski County or downtown Little Rock, the section of this storm that has a tornado is south of the city. So I think the tornado threat does not include the downtown Little Rock or North Little Rock. This is going to be off just to the south. Not by much, but just to the south. And Barry, this circulation is about to get very close to the airport. And if there's any strong wind, we'll be able to get a reading here. The airport right now, as of about 10 minutes ago, south-southwest winds gusting to 31.
Yeah, so we'll be able to see. That's in advance of it. We'll see as this storm passes by if there's any enhancement. But yeah, you're right. It's very close to the airport right now. On the south edge of it, you made a great point. Up along the 630 corridor, Heights, Riverdale, North Little Rock, up into Sherwood, you're technically in the tornado warning, but that's not where any rotation would be if there's a tornado with this. It would be, it looks like to me rather small and moving in that area that would take it where I-30 makes a big turn and goes off to the southwest. I've got to think, James, that it is pouring outside here in Riverdale, and you've got to think that this stabilizes the atmosphere for anything later tonight somewhat. there's no doubt that it will cool the atmosphere. Now, there is some instability trying to nose its way up in, and this area is really largely without rainfall. You're talking about hot springs up to Little Rock, Malvern, and southward, and then these storms are starting to form out here. So that'll be the area more of concern. There is more, there's more energy in the atmosphere, which if it's warmer, if it's more humid, both of those things lend themselves to upward vertical motion. And that's something that you really need if you're going to have some severe storms. So we're watching that area, but we're more concerned with the tornado warning now. And again, if you're just waking up and watching us, there's a lot of spots that have heavy rainfall, but it would be the south extent of this that we're looking at. And even out into West Little Rock now where there's been some hail, right now just some light rainfall out there. We're not concerned about these other showers back behind. Still concerned, though, a little, maybe more than a little, for Bald Knob approaching Augusta. Look at that. Boat out area with hail within that thing, and that thing has been very persistent. 1.5 inch hail report just now showing up there in Searcy. So there was within a large area of smaller hail covering the ground, there was 1.5 inches, at least some 1.5 inches in diameter, which would be severe hail. And that continues to move out as it moves toward Woodruff County out of the eastern part of White County. I don't see any rotation along with that storm, so wind and hail the primary threat there. But the one in Little Rock, that is the one that is tornado warned, and it has some rain with it. Right on top of the airport, I would think right now. You might check the 5-minute observations at the airport, James, but the wind is going to be pretty strong there, I would think.
It's still a little behind. We're up to 12:30 now.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
we're, the air temperature is 64 degrees, which is, you can have severe weather and tornadoes. The dew point was sitting at 56. So you're just very borderline for a legit big time tornado threat. Not to say that it's impossible, because we've watched this storm rotate. But now, now that we're getting this a little bit closer to the radar, Barry, we're actually able to see that the rotation may be a little bit weaker at the ground than it was 20 minutes ago. It still looks like going up in tilt. I'm looking at it on a different program. Looking up 2,000 to 10,000 feet, still looks like the storm overall is rotating, but at the ground level, maybe not as vigorously as it once was.
Yeah, I think, and that's what you might expect in this environment, where it's marginal on temperatures and marginal on the dew point or the humidity content in the atmosphere. So that's good. It does look like a broader area, but we're going to still watch this area along 440 around the airport. If you're out in that area, you're in a tornado warning. The back edge of it, obviously, now moving out of any southwest Little Rock. Any problem that we would have would be there on the south side of this storm where there's unimpeded airflow. And James made a good point. 64 degrees at the airport. It was in the 50s. So there's been a strong south wind, and it has pulled that warmer air up in advance of this. So it had some fuel to work with, but not everything probably just right for tornado development. Obviously, we're going to stay on, though, and keep an eye on that storm, which is the one that we're really concerned about in the state. I'm looking at power outages, and I see a few out in West Little Rock, kind of on the other side of the interstate from Shackleford Crossing, and not even many of those. It looks like about, 1,000 customers out now on the Entergy page in Little Rock. And that is the only spot, other than a couple of spots up around Morgan. But 1,000 customers, and I'm going to zoom in on the area and I'll show you a little bit better where I'm talking about. We're going to continue to watch that storm. But it would be this area off Canis Road and 430, all the way up, almost all the way up to Chenal Parkway. So it's this area right here, about 1,000 customers without power, according to the Entergy outage map. So that's kind of the first sign that we've seen there of power outages. And James, that was well north of any rotation that we might have seen. which
Yeah,
makes
that
me
may have
think
been, yeah,
that might have been
lightning.
lightning related.
Yeah, that's unfortunate with the colder air that's moving in late tonight, um, and into tomorrow. Well, it's tomorrow,
It is tomorrow,
later
yes.
today. So, Barry, the storm structure on the storm that's now moving towards the east of Little Rock, um, structurally, it's still intact. You still got a nice hook there, and it's pulling in warmer air from the east. That air temperature from the airport, we know it's 64 degrees. Dew point's not quite where they should be for tornadoes. Dew point at the airport did get up to 56 just before the storm arrived. And Barry, I'm looking at the observations. That wind at the airport went right from south to north and started gusting up to 29 miles per hour. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a big wind shift there as that storm went through the airport. The rotation to me looks about as weak as it's been since we have been talking about this storm. And
Absolutely.
that's why the National Weather Service has just now
Yes.
allowed the tornado warning to expire.
And they replaced it with a severe thunderstorm warning that extends out, as you can see right there, it extends on out along I-40 eastbound, includes the Jacksonville area for the hail part of the storm, if there is some hail. And then we'll just continue to watch that inflow notch area there as it progresses on out toward Lone Oak, on out to the east. But that's what it appears like, and that is great news. The structure not being as good as it was, and then moving off toward Augusta right now, crossing the White River and moving in. And folks in Augusta, man, I hope you have some cover for your car, because I think there is going to be some hail along that area. If you have any hail, you can always send it to us, katv.com/chime in. Don't put yourself in danger doing that. But if you have some video, you can always send that to us, and we'll continue to look for that hail video, which we've seen in a couple of spots around the state tonight, and some minor damage around Greenbrier and other isolated spots out in Perry County. Yeah, a lot of hail video coming in, but that's generally, here's one about 3 minutes ago. Looks like large hail. I'm trying to figure out where that is from. And that is from Searcy. Yeah, so that report of definitely bigger than quarter-size hail in Searcy. It is this storm that produced that's moving now off toward Augusta.
Barry, I want to point out how incredibly lucky we are tonight that this is not the same setup is not occurring at 4 o'clock in the afternoon with warmer temperatures and better moisture, because this would just be an awful tornado outbreak. The storms over western Arkansas are in cooler air, and they all look like they could rotate at some point, but they're kind of on that cool boundary. We're really watching the storms that are moving out of northeast Texas and southeast Oklahoma. Those are going to move through western Arkansas, and they're eventually going to make it back to the metro area. We still have a high wind threat tonight, and that's why that tornado watch is in effect until 4 a.m. So plenty for us to watch the rest of the night. We want this to be a night where you don't have to stay up all night. Let us do that. Just get your warning notifications set. Barry, looking at the storms to the west of the metro area, they have look like they could be rotating, but there's just not much rotation in anything out here. I think it's pretty well been rain cooled out there.
Yeah, especially out to the north, north of Hot Springs, out to Perrin. Those areas have already been. But you're right. Those storms look like they want to rotate, but I just think the thermal profile is pretty poor. It's already rained a lot out in that area around Mount Ida. So, again, we'll all be watching those. And if you have the KETV weather app, you can get warned. And if you hear a warning, if you set it for tornado warning, for example, and you want the information of what's going on, we're going to be on the air if there's a tornado warning, and we're going to be here all night watching this. Hopefully the structure of this storm starts to look weaker, which it really has. It is still severe thunderstorm warned, and we're going to still watch the southern edge of it right there. We're going to watch those storms moving into Woodruff County, and that is just bowed out right there. Still haven't had that many reports, I don't believe, of power outages in the Searcy area. Looks like only 93 in Searcy are without power. In the Little Rock area, though, there are sporadic power outages, and it's gone up either side of Canis Road, just out to the west of I-430, and that was one that now 1,055 without power in that part of the city. All right, again, we're watching these storms, and we're watching the ones now trying to form out in western Arkansas, and hopefully those have a very difficult time forming. And then our attention is turned to southeastern Oklahoma and storms that will form there later on tonight and move on through. And we'll be handing over our coverage. We will not abandon you, though. We'll be handing over our coverage here in an hour or so to meteorologist Matt Posguy and meteorologist Melinda Mayo. But until then, we are watching this storm as it moves off to the east of the Little Rock area. Still no obvious sign of rotation with that storm. Still not much in the way of power outages here, except for that one little cluster in to the west side of I-430, and that didn't correspond to the area of high winds, really. So I'm thinking that that was probably a lightning strike, a sizable lightning strike out there that hit one of the main transformers, perhaps around that whole area. Hopefully that is quickly coming back on. But we're watching the wind field in this storm. Here's just the rain part of it. And we're watching these storms out to the west. And you're right, James, they all have these little appendages on the end of them. But I think it's going to be difficult for them to rotate in that environment out there. Just seems a little cool to me.
Yeah, I think at least for the moment that's the case. But
Yeah.
that area southwest quarter of the state, I think that's where we're going to have to watch for severe weather the rest of tonight. And we'll see this line move through the metro area again here in a few hours. So a little bit longer to go before we give you the all clear. But at least for the moment, the tornado threat statewide has ended.
Yeah, it definitely has. We'll continue to watch this storm out to the east of town here. And there are only 2 severe thunderstorm warnings, I believe, in the entire state. Even northwest Arkansas, where there earlier were some storms, those have moved on up to the north. And so we're watching this corridor. You folks in Augusta, McCrory, this storm does have some hail and some wind potential with it. I don't see a real tornado threat along with it, though, as it moves off to the east. But we're going to continue to watch that moving into the northern part of Woodruff County. And then the storm out to the east of Little Rock, it just doesn't look like it has the organizational structure that it did. I'm looking at the National Weather Service if they're indicating anything about these storms. And now they just let the tornado warning go, and then they reissued the severe thunderstorm warning there. No tornado warnings in the state. Storms are extending all the way up to near Jonesboro. And then our attention is turned to these storms out here, which right now do not appear to be even strong, let alone severe. And that is a kind of a broad area of rain, too. I know, James, that there's some instability, those southern storms right there. But that is an area that has been worked over by rainfall earlier. It's been cooled by rain. And so for now, anyway, we'll watch those. But I don't know that we are going to. I don't know that right now that those look threatening. There is one. We've had one report of a 65 mile per hour wind gust. Can this be right? Yeah.
Yeah.
On Santa Fe.
Maybe earlier.
Markham and Santa Fe, which is north of Rodney Parham. Yeah, earlier. That was at 12:25 p.m.
So that would have been the main core of that storm. It was moving through central Pulaski County as the tornado warning part went to the south.
Yeah, very near where the hail core was. And that may have been that hail core with just some wind kind of being pulled down out of that storm. But 65 mile per hour gusts. So likely there will be some trees down in the area. It's showing it Markham and Santa Fe. So, yeah. Well, that's the report anyway. Train spotter reported that. That's just coming into our newsroom there as this storm moves on off to the northeast. So there is wind energy along with that storm. Hail threat, though, within it, I don't see any hail core at all right now.
No, I think the storm is really going to be removed from the best ingredients the further east it gets. And these storms up towards Woodruff County and Jackson County, they continue to look impressive with the hail and the wind threat. Yeah, I think we'll continue to get reports of hail from that. Getting a lot of reports of hail from the Searcy area and White County from where those storms originated. The thunderstorm that's been moving through Pulaski County is now almost entirely going into Lonoke County. Still continuing to monitor that hook there for any signs of rotation, and it's very, very weak. So that's a good sign there. And all night long, we're going to be keeping our eyes to the west. I have been looking at some of the surface observations off towards the west and southwest that can kind of give us an idea of where severe weather's more likely. You see there's kind of a boundary between the higher dew points and the lower dew points, upper 50s to near 60 across south and southwest Arkansas. They're much lower north of the Little Rock line, and I think that's kind of where the cutoff is for any type of severe weather going forward. This line is going to push through the state over the course of the next 5 to 6 hours, waiting on that line to develop. And I think along this line, we're going to see high winds possible. Can't rule out the possibility of an isolated tornado, but thankfully this line moves quick. And by the time we get to sunrise, it's hitting the Mississippi River and moving well east after that.
Yeah, and right. That's when it all gets out of here. It won't last forever, and then the colder air will start to spill in. I'm just looking at these storms out to the west, over around Jesseville and Perrin, and there may be some sort of a boundary out there that they're trying to ride along. A little higher humidity levels and a little lower on the north side of that, but they don't look impressive. These storms out by themselves, but I think they're going to have a hard time growing. So then our attention turns to the storms and this area largely without rainfall down in southwest Arkansas. But this is an area of a little more concern because of just the higher humidity values that are there. So we'll continue to watch these. Again, this storm moving off to the east of the Little Rock area right now looks less impressive than it did. Still may have some wind, though, in it as it enters into Lonoke County. Just some outflow from the radar site right there. That's a bright red, so that's winds rushing away from the radar site. So there could be some wind embedded within that. But that would be the primary threat, and I don't see a great hail threat with that storm, but it did produce some strong winds as it went through the Little Rock area, and we're looking at an area out in sort of West Little Rock there that had a 65-mile-per-hour estimated wind gust. So with that, you would think maybe a tree or two or multiple could have been pushed down in some isolated instances. We never had a report of a tornado, though, touching down, nor any power outages that corresponded with that southern part of the storm where we saw some sign of rotation along and just to the south of I-30. These storms are severe thunderstorm warned. They are not tornado warned at this time. And James, it looks like those storms up in Woodruff County are going to be moving off very quickly over out of the Little Rock warning area and moving over into the Memphis warning area in not too long a time.
Yeah, that stretch there from Augusta to McCrory, there's probably going to be some high winds and some hail, and especially off into southern Jackson County. This is an area that this is the storm. This segment originated in Faulkner County. And it's been doing damage for quite some time, mainly in the form of straight line winds and hail. So that's going to continue to cause problems as it moves through East Arkansas. And this is just round one. We didn't know how much severe weather we would see from round one. I do think this next round, maybe for South Arkansas, is a little bit more potent. Barry, these storms out over West Arkansas, all of them kind of have the appendage to them, but there's not a whole lot of rotation on any of them. So that's a good sign, at least for the short term. There's not even severe thunderstorm warnings on any of those storms. The only warnings we have in the state is the one for eastern Pulaski, the one going through Lonoke County, and the one up into Woodruff and Jackson counties. Those are the only storms that are severe. We're really looking at strong winds with these storms and then embedded hail. I've gotten a lot of pictures of hail to ketv.com/chime in. You can also send them to either Barry's Facebook inbox or my Facebook inbox if that is easier, because we want to see what you see. Don't ever put yourself in danger to take a picture. But just getting some pictures in, Barry. It seems like there has been a lot of quarter-size hail tonight, and I'm getting pictures of hail maybe even larger than size that came out of the Searcy area back with those storms that moved through there. So it looks like the hail that moved through the Little Rock area was mostly small with this the other side of Jacksonville.
Yeah, I see a couple of reports of 1-inch hail near Cato and near Spring Hill in Saline County. Yeah, so about 1 inch in diameter. And then that 65-mile-per-hour wind gust. But that is the storm that's continuing to move away, the leading edge now going over into Lonoke County. And then we watch these storms on out to the west. They are all out by themselves, but in an area that we don't think is very conducive to explosive development, only because it's largely rain-cooled over there. And that just makes it a lot more difficult. But the storms that are moving out into the I-30 corridor later on are starting to line up and then grow a little bit more southward. I can go over to the Fort Smith radar, and it shows them a little bit better. Getting a little bit better look from the Fort Smith radar at those storms that are kind of lined up along some sort of a boundary, and then that area right there. And that's what's going to rotate on up through. I think we've got to watch the southern extent of those storms, like south of Mena, although there was heavy rain in that area around Caddo Gap, Glenwood. In that area, there was already heavy rain right there, but south of there, not so much. And that is not rain-cooled air that's coming up in. Those south winds are pretty rich with moisture. So those are some of the things that we might look at. And then we go back to the Little Rock radar there, and we have access to both of those radars on our storm scan. And there it is, some hail threat out to the east of Little Rock, a small hail core, and it looks like that is moving along out into Lonoke County, just to the north of I-40. Radar-wise, strong storm still around Augusta, and then another bowed-out area north of McCrory. And look at the hail threat with that. That has really grown. That's just tremendous hail up to the north of McCrory and up into the southern part of Jackson County. And that thing, as James mentioned, is going on for a long time. And a bowed-out structure, there could be some wind along with it as well as it moves through that area way out to the east of Searcy, and it produced a lot of hail in that area. The tornado watch is in effect until 4 a.m. That will likely be extended, but extended and reconfigured in some way, shape, or form. We're going to be here all night watching that and continuing to see what new model information says about it. If we can go back up over to computer number 2, I just want to kind of show you what the high-resolution data is and just kind of follow along. You can see shows pretty well at 1 a.m. Yeah, it might be just a little bit slow on the positioning, the initialization, but it's pretty close. And then as we head into the overnight hours, you can see that area that really begins to blow up there. I would say in that 2:30 time frame, and then moving into the Little Rock area again around 4 o'clock. And it seems like, hey, didn't we just have a big area of rain that went through here? Yeah, we did. And yeah, that did cool the atmosphere some here. But we may have a little bit of time to recover. But it's the area down to the south and maybe some storms that could get going out in advance of it for a brief time. I don't think it's going to last a long, long time, but that would be the area that we would be worried about. And then moving on off to the east of Little Rock at 6 a.m., the leading edge, that would be where the storms would be at 6 a.m. Still some rain coming back behind there, and then snow actually starting to fly in northwest Arkansas at about that time. That's what the models are indicating, and then that should be out of here. And this is actually showing a little bit of clearing tomorrow. I don't know how much clearing we'll get, but I know one thing. The winds out of the west will be crazy, 25, 30, 35 mile per hour, and wind gusts even higher than that. So that's what the Futurecast model is kind of indicating. But for the time being, we are concentrated on the radar returns. And the storm, still some heavy rainfall in the Little Rock area, not severe, moving out toward Furlough and off to the east of Cabot. Those are the storms that we're looking at, as well as those that are trailing out toward the Mena area. All of those would,
Barry,
yeah.
I'll look at been looking at a couple different things here as far as the severe weather environment goes, and I think it's very possible that we see that tornado watch extended to 6 a.m. maybe for parts of eastern Arkansas. Um, the Storm Prediction Center's latest discussion on their tornado watch is that they are expecting there's storms in East Texas, east of the Dallas area, to continue to intensify and move northeast. And those are going to move northeast into southwest Arkansas as we go through the night. So they're expecting this to be linear, these storms to be in lines, not kind of out by themselves like what we just saw move through the Little Rock area. So that's going to favor a high wind risk. Of course, we just cannot totally discount the tornado threat tonight. So that is going to exist as well. Quite a few severe weather reports tonight. There's been hail in Saline County. There's been quite a bit of hail in Faulkner and Pulaski counties. And the largest hailstones have come from Searcy, where we got 1.5 inch hail reports with the storms that are now tracking through Jackson and Woodruff counties. Off to our southwest, we are continuing to monitor the storms that are developing. They are not severe at this time, but the temperatures are a bit warmer at Queen. It's 62 degrees. Texarkana is at 63. Arkadelphia is at 63. So it's not warm, but it may be warm enough to get some severe weather southwest part of the state tonight. That may continue in south and southeast Arkansas into the early as well. Just a time where you don't want to let your guard down, but also I don't want anyone to feel like they have to stay up all night. Just make sure you've got a way to get a warning notification if indeed a warning is issued for your location. Some of you may not get any warnings and you can just sleep straight through this, but if warnings are issued, you want to know about it. Make sure you've got the warning notifications set up so that you can be notified. Other than that, Barry, our attention turns cold air after this. We just got to get through one more wave of storms.
Yeah, we do. And if you go back to computer number 2, if we could show you that, I'm just looking at the line that you said from Dallas up into southeastern Oklahoma, and one storm right there, north of I-30, that is out by itself. Generally, as you said, this will be a linear thing, forming into a line, but there are storms that are trying to form out in advance of it up into Arkansas, and they're just running into quite a lot of cooler air. This storm is out by itself, and that will eventually move up into Arkansas. It's not tornado warned right now, there's nothing along it, but it's something that we're going to be watching as we head into the overnight hours. Right now, coming up on, about almost 1:10 in the morning. These storms continuing to move off to the east of Little Rock. They're just severe thunderstorm warnings right now. And James, do you see anything on this storm out to the north of Lone Oak that gives you any pause or concern?
I don't. I think it's the better environment's going to be across southwest Arkansas. So I do think there is going to be some wind. There's some definitely some wind along the leading edge of this, but it's just a strong little storm producing some hail and some wind. I think the tornado threat is on the low side with this, and this is staying north of Lone Oak and Carlisle, and very soon this is probably going to go right through Des Arc. So for those of you in Des Arc, if you're watching us, maybe a bit loud later on as this moves through there and then approaches the White River. But there's a good chance this is going to reach Des Arc within the next hour. There's kind of a trailing line back behind it with more rain back through the Little Rock metro area. I think we might stand a good chance to pick up some locations may pick up an inch of rain tonight just because some of these storms have been so heavy. So we are that storm in northern Lonoke County thankfully has lost its tornado threat. There's still a good chance that this stays just severe and not with any tornado threat. I think probably buried the strongest storm in the state. Maybe what's up in Jackson and Woodruff counties. Those storms have been very strong over the last few hours, and I actually want to see if I can add our local storm report here. So these are storm reports that we have received tonight. This is really our first severe weather event of the year. There were some hail and wind reports from northwest Arkansas, and then we started to get wind and hail reports all across central Arkansas. We have some from Perryville, and then Conway, one from the Atkins area, and then over into White County. And those storms, a couple of different rounds of storms moved through Pulaski County. We saw several areas of 1-inch hail, and looks like a new high wind report, Barry, just came up. 3-inch tree limbs broken, power poles broken down there at 12:34 a.m. in Timber Ridge. So that is from Pulaski County, and then we had a 65-mile-per-hour wind gust. That was with that storm that moved through earlier as well. So a night where we have had plenty of severe weather. Power outages statewide are at about 20,000 right now. And I don't think I see any reason that's going to climb, at least in the near term. We're probably going to be seeing these numbers drop as our great linemen get out there and work to get power restored before the colder air arrives. No tornado threat with the storm that is east of Little Rock moving through northern Lodoke County. I think these two groups of storms out to our northeast don't have any tornado threat. I think if we see anything the rest of the night, we're going to watch this corridor right here off toward south of Little Rock. There's kind of this big area. South Arkansas hasn't seen a whole lot of rain. And so that's the area we watch. A tad bit warmer, and there's storms that are back in the Dallas area that are going to move through that area. So that's what we're watching. Otherwise, back from Little Rock towards heavy rain. Thankfully, those storms are all non-stop. Watching probably very soon. That severe thunderstorm warning canceled for Pulaski County. They'll probably extend a new severe thunderstorm warning, that Lone Oak County storm out through Desark and Cotton Plant. But it looks like, I say just a hail and wind risk. That's pretty substantial, but not a tornado threat.
Yeah, agree. And so, yeah, no tornado warnings in the state. We are continuing to watch. You folks out east of town, we're watching those storms on up into Woodruff County. But then we are watching these storms as they come out of Oklahoma and Texas. And within, I would say 45 minutes or so, we may very well be back on, and later on tonight. Hopefully this is more of a wind threat and not a tornado threat. For the time being, though, James and I, we're going to get a drink of water, and we're going to take a quick break. But we just wanted to let you know that we are not keeping our coverage or taking our coverage away. We are standing here monitoring, and if anything looks like it is a big risk, we will certainly be back on the air tonight. Our hearts go out to a lot of you, 20,000 plus, that are without power right now. Just some sporadic outages around the state, but we're watching these storms as they move off down to the south of Searcy now, the northern part of Lone Oak, Perry County, and there could be some brief windy conditions there. If you get a notification on your app, or you hear the wind outside and you think there could be a tornado warning, please tune in to Channel 7. We'll be on all night watching these storms. For right now, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be back on in just a little bit.